Namaste, my name is François Gauthier. Many of you know me. I'm a French journalist and writer. I live in India. I'm married to an Indian. I love being in your country. Your country has brought a lot to me, and I feel I have a debt towards the country. And this is why I have written many books and articles defending India, and I do these videos because I think that India is the upcoming power in Asia more than China, which is not a democracy, which has not preserved its spirituality, that as Sri Aurobindo, Sri Ramakrishna, today Sri Ravi Shankar and others say, India must be the spiritual leader of the world, and for this India must become a superpower, even from a military and nuclear aspect. Now, today I'm going to talk about power. When I was a kid, I read a book which struck me. It was about Mexico. In Mexico, in the 19th century and earlier 20th century, there were a lot of revolts. There were a lot because Mexico was ruled by landlords. It was ruled in a feudal manner. So there were a lot of revolt. And one of these Marxist guerrilleros, who was fighting against the power, against the landlords and the feudal system, he came to power. And slowly, being in power, he became like those he was fighting. And one day he realized that, and he just said, okay, what happened to me? What happened to me? And he just disappeared. He left the palace and disappeared forever. So this struck me at that time. Now, what we have seen today is that when the BJP came to power, and I have defended the BJP since the day of Mr. Advani's Raj Yatra. I was a friend of Mr. Advani and Mr. Molimana Joshi, and I have interviewed Prime Minister Vajpayee 2 times. So I've been a defender of BJP. I have said for a long time that BJP must come to power, that they have a new fresh air in India, a new wave of change in India. And they did come to power first with Mr. Vajpayee. It was a bit of a failure though. And then Mr. Modi became the Prime Minister for 2 terms, and most probably is going to be elected for a 3rd term. Now, what I have observed, and again this is in brackets because I see nobody else except Mr. Modi and the BJP coming to power in the next 10 years, and I think there's nobody else. Mr. Rahul Gandhi, though he may be a good man, is not capable of becoming the ruler of India, and there is nobody else on the horizon. What I have seen with the BJP is that they came to power in a system that was made by the Congress, by 50, 60 years of Congress rule, and the Congress made a system that is still in place today, a VVIP system, a security system, a political system, a social system, particularly in Delhi, the capital, where the BJP had to function. Now, in the beginning, the BJP tried to change the system. Mr. Modi himself, in the beginning, and he came from Gujarat, and I know that in Gujarat, he had the right ideas. He had the right ideas. Mr. Modi, in the beginning, tried to fight the system. For instance, he asked his ministers, and I have seen it with my own eyes in the first mandate of the BJP, he asked his minister to receive ordinary people in a room, with only one secretary and row of plastic chairs, and you move up till you come to the minister and you say your problem. So this happened in Gujarat under Mr. Modi. Again, I saw it in Gujarat, and I saw it in the beginning of the first term. Mr. Modi himself fought the VVIP system of the Congress, where there are 7 security layers around the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister, every time he moves, disturbs the whole of Delhi because he has to go to the airport, and they have not managed to have a helipad in the old airfield in the central Delhi, Sarfarjung airfield. They have not managed to find a system whether the Prime Minister can fly from near his residence to the airport. So Mr. Modi himself, and I have seen it, try to change the system. Ultimately, unfortunately, I feel that the BJP fell a prey to that system and not only accepted it, but settled in it happily. We remember, my wife and I, I'm building that Museum of Indian History in Pune, and we have many exhibitions. And we had one on Aurangzeb, who was an absolute monster, not only towards Indian, but towards his own family. And one on Darashuko, his brother. who was a Sufi saint and was beheaded by Aurangzeb, his brother, for apostasy. And in fact, Dara Shikoh was the elder son of Shah Jahan, the builder of the Taj Mahal, and should have become emperor, then the whole history of India would have changed. Anyway, so we had these two exhibitions from these two brothers, and we thought we'll show them in Delhi, in the Indira Gandhi Art Center, which now has been erased to make place for the new parliament, but then was the most prestigious place in Delhi. That was about 6-7 years ago. So we proposed this exhibition, these two exhibitions, to be shown in the Indira Gandhi Center. It was accepted, and then we looked for a VIP to inaugurate them. It was called The Two Brothers, The Tale of Two Brothers, Aurangzeb and Dara Shikoh. Aurangzeb, who killed Hindus and raised temple, and Dara Shikoh, who believed that Islam had roots in the Upanishads and the Vedas. Of course, we invited Mr. Modi. He was very busy, so he declined. He didn't answer. And then we invited the then Vice President of India. I will not name him. Very nice man, who RSS person whom I had met before, who knew me. We invited him. He accepted. He knew me. He accepted. Now, this man who doesn't have power, because the President and Vice President of India don't really have any power. They're just, puppet heads. They're just people that are, have no real power. So the secretary then of the Vice President first told us, no, you can't show Aurangzeb because it's not proper for the Vice President to inaugurate such a thing. You only show Dara Shikoh. Reluctantly, we said yes. And then they came with a whole set of rules. Or you have to get up when the president comes. You can't shake his hand. You have to do namaste. You can't enter his room where he's going to freshen up, for the first 24 hours. So the vice president came. He came very late, 3-4 hours late. And then, as I said, I knew him. So I asked him afterwards, sir, they did this and they did that and they made us remove. He was not even aware that they made us remove Aurangzeb. And so, why? And he said, there's a blue book made by the Congress of hierarchy and protocol, and we have to follow it. We can't change it unless there is a Parliament Act. So I am bound by it. I later met this gentleman, again a very nice gentleman, in Chicago for the World Hindu Conference, so again 6 years ago, and he seemed to have happily settled into the VIP system whereby you have a vice president who has no power, about 200 people working for him, lives in a palace in Delhi, and cost a lot of money to the Indian taxpayer, even more for the president, who has more people working for him and who lives in a absolute palace, the Raj Bhavan in Delhi. Now, the ministers whom Mr. Modi made in the beginning, listened to commoners with only one secretary, and received them. Now it's absolutely impossible to meet a minister, BJP, I'm talking about BJP minister, unless you have very high connections, because around a minister, and I know some very good people who are ministers. I'm talking about Nirmala Sitharaman, who knows me and knows my wife, who have seen us many times. Mr. Gadkari, who is a very good man and one of the most stable ministers, and many others, good people. They have 7 layers, from the peon who picks up the phone, in the exchange, to the PA of the undersecretary and the undersecretary, and the PA and PA of the secretary. So till you reach a minister, it's impossible. So the BJP has settled in a system that they fought. Not only they fought during elections, Mr. Modi fought against Sonia Gandhi and the VVIP system, but they also fought in the beginning of their mandate. They sincerely tried to change the system, but they found that the system actually swallowed them, that the system makes the people. The Congress system makes the people. We see that today there is corruption within the BJP, which probably wasn't there in the beginning. That the BJP begins to look in some ways, because they're still different, they're still the best people, in some way they begin to look like Congress people. Now, for me, the greatest culprit is Delhi, because Delhi was the capital made by the British. It was made by the British, And at that time, it made sense because Delhi was a gateway to India. All the invaders came from the north, they came from Punjab, Sindh, and they entered, and Delhi was the gate where you could defend the rest of India. So it made sense in those days, made sense for the British. And the British, of course, were not many. They were very well paid, they had a lot of power. They didn't need to be corrupt. Now, Delhi is still the capital today. I saw that Mr. Modi would change the capital and put it more centrally because he's a man from Gujarat. Gujarat is the central state of India. And in Gujarat, he was able to get a pulse of India. He would meet people, he would know the pulse of India. He was in center of India. Now, if I'm a Tamil man, and I need something from Delhi, from the political apparatus in Delhi, and I go to Delhi, it's a different climate, different food, different language, different setup. I'm completely lost. So the great culprit is Delhi, and in Delhi is a nexus. The diplomats who live in a golden fort, the Shanti Pass, the media. All the media is in Delhi now. There are very few media left in Bombay. The media, and then you have the bureaucrats. The bureaucrats, immense power. Again the Congress. The bureaucrats are they're a tool of the Congress, and they don't have ideology, and they're corrupt in the lower ranks. So the bureaucracy has not changed under Mr. Modi. He tried very hard, but it's not changed. They still have immense power. So the diplomats, the media, the bureaucracy, and the politician, this nexus needs to be broken. If the BJP wants to break the mold in which they are shut off now, they need to shift the capital from Delhi to a more central place in India, like Bhopal or Ujjain or Indore. There are so many cities in India, and this will break the nexus. What will the diplomats do if the power is no more in Delhi? What will the media do if the power is no more in Delhi? What will the bureaucrats do if they have to be shifted, from the upper luxury they have in Delhi? Remember these two bureaucrats who used to empty the sports stadium to walk their dogs. They have this power, the high bureaucracy in India. So for me, the great culprit is Delhi. I still think that the BJP is the right party for India. I still think that Mr. Modi is the right man for India. But unless they break the mold, they take the risk of slowly getting more, happy in their golden cage, and lose their ideology. Ultimately, the BJP will lose their ideology and they will be voted out of power, like Mr. Vajpayee was. Mr. Vajpayee was voted out of power because power corrupts. The problem of power is that it corrupts. As I said in my story of the Mexican revolutionary, he realized, but at least he had the context to realize that I'm becoming like them. I'm becoming like the very people I was fighting because power has corrupted me. So unless the BJP breaks that mold, they risk to be corrupted by power. Thank you.